Oh boy. Yeah, hey guys. It's Mark and James, Mets'd podcast, here to talk about the Tigers series. You could probably hear the hesitation in my voice a little bit because this is not a fun one. This is not a fun episode to talk about. I'm not gonna bring the heat. I'm not gonna bring the energy like I normally do when we're feeling great by any means. But we do have to talk a little bit about what happened. Not the best baseball played this past, I guess, technically 2 days because of the rain out, but these days in Detroit have been pretty miserable. So me and James are going to go ahead and talk to you guys about what we're feeling, what's going on, keep it real with you guys, and then talk about the Rockies and stuff. We're going to keep this one pretty short. There is not too much to talk about. Justin Verlander first start. That's pretty much the big shining, sparkling thing to address here. But James, what's up, man? How we feeling?
Not that good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Watching the Mets just lose these 3 games of the Tigers back to back was tough. It was really difficult, especially coming after the last 2 series they played at home against the Braves and Nationals. This is one of the lowest episodes we've ever recorded for the Mets'd podcast.
Yeah, they have lost 9 of their last 11. Not to really beat a dead horse here, but they've not been playing good baseball over the last 2 weeks, and not really necessarily sure what exactly is the cause or the issue. Seems like some days the pitching isn't there, some days the hitting isn't there, like we saw on Wednesday against Eduardo Rodriguez or Josiah Gray in series past. But there's definitely just not the greatest of vibes right now in Mets world, definitely, especially on the social media side of things. And it definitely is not. We like doing the podcast episodes where we're excited. We're like, hey, we swept this team. We beat the Dodgers. Like, those are the episodes we live for. The episodes where we get swept up against the Tigers, who are without a doubt one of the worst teams in baseball. And I know like people are using that stat about how the Tigers are, I think, 11-3 or 12-3 against teams outside of the American League East this year. But I mean, you look up and down that roster, it's a bad team. So there is no excuse for getting swept to the Tigers. Like they just straight up played better baseball, and that's something that should not happen.
No, and that's the thing. You say that you look for something you can change, or this gets fixed and we're okay, but there isn't that like one thing we can't fix right now. It's just every single day something else, and that's like kind of the most frustrating part as a fan. That like you watch this team and you know what they're capable of, and you know how well you've seen them play over the last few years, and you're like, wow, it's just not there right now. It's just not happening.
It's been a real kick in the nuts to a certain group of Mets fans that are also Rangers fans this week, with the Rangers getting knocked out of the playoffs and the Mets getting swept by the Tigers. It has been not a great week for very specific New York sports fans, especially John. John's like, hey, come on, man. It's taking shots at me. John, listen, James is a Rangers fan too. Everybody's hurting, not feeling great. And it was a week that should have been really exciting. Really exciting. Like, especially in Mets world with Scherzer and Verlander coming back, Verlander making his debut. We'll talk about that a little bit more in depth a little bit later on this episode. But Scherzer came back, and I don't know if it's because of the time off, if it was the weird, funky schedule that's been going on, the weather. We know that, Scherzer's very particular about like his workout routine and the days off and stuff in between, and that got pushed like awkwardly because of the rain delay, or not the rain delay, because of the postponement. But he obviously wasn't sharp. I think there's no way around it. He did not pitch to the Max Scherzer levels, and he even addressed it, after the game, talking about how he just didn't necessarily feel good. Something that we definitely need to hopefully adjust and gets to the point where we get the old Max Scherzer, Cy Young caliber pitcher back.
Yeah, and Scherzer himself did address it pretty contritely after the game, basically saying like, I didn't have it. I didn't have the ticks. Like I was throwing 92. I want to get that tick or two higher. That's where he was last year, and him identifying that and saying that as the reason very, very obviously and emphatically to the media. I guess that's meaningful in some way, but like that home run that Matt Vierling hit was just 92 right down the middle. Yeah. Like almost every single hitter in Major League Baseball is going to be able to turn that one around. And the other thing that's interesting about Scherzer's start, just to talk about pitching for a second here, to make myself try to feel better, is that while that fastball was a thing he referenced after the game that was getting the ticks, like that was also the only pitch that was getting any swings and misses. Like his sliders didn't have the bite. He wasn't locating the fastball or the slider or the cutter or the changeup. Haas hit a home run, the slider that was like on the outer edge. It looked like if Max Scherzer puts a slider there, usually you can't get that much bat on it. The only whiff he got in the whole game with the slider was Javi Baez, and those whiffs don't count, even though he had 2 runs off us in the series. Because, of course, that was the lock of a lifetime.
We tried so hard. We didn't say it. We knew, though, that it was coming. We're like, Javi Baez. Also, the balls did feel like they were flying a little bit out in Detroit, didn't they?
Yeah, a little bouncy. This is on you. You chastised cavernous Detroit. They moved those fences significantly in, and then Eric Haas and Matt Vierling had putting the ball out.
to be fair, they hit it to the part where those fences weren't moved in. They hit it down the lines. All the home runs were down the lines. Would have been nice if the Mets could have gotten a couple more home runs down the line. No, Lindor got that home run, which was good to see earlier.
Ed Fan McCann did in Game 1 on Tuesday, on Wednesday. Like, the Mets were hitting the ball a little bit when the series began, and then just ended on Thursday with Eduardo Rodriguez looking like Sandy Koufax, just every single pitch exactly where it had to be, 8 innings, just no base runners. It was almost, I don't know, it just felt like a fever dream.
It was a very confusing game to watch because this is a team that, like, doesn't swing and miss a lot, doesn't strike out a lot. Like, granted, the Mets, we knew that this team, like, power-wise, was not going to be one of the top in baseball. We knew that power wasn't necessarily their strong suit, but, like, contact, putting the ball in play, making pitchers work was. And Eduardo Rodriguez got through this game in 8 innings with, like, 100 pitches. It felt like the plan that the Mets normally go to just, like, wasn't working, and they tried to do something else maybe. I don't know. It's weird when you see a team with guys like Brandon Nimmo, Marte, Lindor, even Alonso, McNeil, like guys who don't strike out, and there's just like a lot of swing and misses, a lot of just confusion from what it looked like at the plate. It was a pretty ugly 18 innings of baseball since Game 1. Like, Game 1 was tough because it was a close game that lost because of a ball here, a ball there. But Game 2 and 3, like, relatively speaking, the Tigers gave it to the Mets.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they gave it to the Mets pretty bad, too, and that was against Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander. That's, again, continuously the most frustrating part. Shout out Jimmy Bonus in Game 1, though. Like, he did everything he could. Lucchesi was getting hit kind of hard, and then Buck said after the game that there's no starter right now for Sunday because of the rain out from Tuesday and the doubleheader Wednesday. So he limited Lucchesi to 4 innings, like 46, 50 pitches, trying to get it back out there. And Yacobonis walked out there and threw 3 perfect innings. 31 sinkers at 35 pitches. They all looked amazing. He got the pitching ninja treatment. So it was nice that he did that. And it did feel like that first game. It does feel like, which is the worst part about a series like this, where you feel the butterfly effect. Like, if the Mets get out of that game Tuesday afternoon with a victory, this whole series could go differently. I don't know. It seems like Max Scherzer didn't have it like at all, so maybe you still lose that game. But just feel like the feeling really changed when the Tigers grabbed that lead off Adam Ottavino in the 8th inning, and it was like, oh man.
And I felt really good too because, like, the Mets went down early from Lucchesi giving up those home runs or the runs in the first, and then the Mets did answer back, which was like, that was like, okay, like, that made me take like a deep breath. That game was tough, like you said, the Marte ball that maybe could have been caught in right field. He took a step back. He was playing really deep. The ball dropped in. You saw the tweets all over the place, I'm sure, you guys, about the catch probability and whatnot. It was just, like you said, when that inning kind of happened, it felt like something a little bit changed, and you saw it play out what seemed like in the next game, and then on Game 3 on Thursday, which we're now talking about. I don't know. The vibes are a little down. Hopefully coming back to New York, playing the Rockies, things can change. We got Buck, who's a veteran manager for a long time, so get these guys right. I know he talked a lot to the press after the game, had a bunch of different comments to say, and I think everyone at least acknowledges that they're playing poorly, and I don't think it's like like anybody's hiding behind the fact like, oh, this is just April. I think there's like a thought around just the entire thing about like, we need to play better. This is not okay. This is not acceptable. April isn't an excuse because the Tigers are not a very good team. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah, and then you also look, because like you try to look at this whole like bad stretch as a whole, like the end of that Giants series, Nationals, Braves, Tigers. You look and like that's like 3 of the 4 series the Mets have played this year against teams that are under 500. Now the Marlins, as of recording this on Thursday afternoon, have climbed above 500. And you look and you're just like, wow, it's so frustrating that the worst baseball that we've played is against teams that are worse. Like you show, and again, the Brave series, whatever, that was a weird series. They played a half a game on Friday in a weird doubleheader where they truthfully could have won both games. Like that series, you almost feel like you have to flush it just because of how bizarre the timing of it was. But you look at the rest of those series, and you're like, these are just games that you are better than that team. You have better players. Buck did answer a question about that heading into the series. Like, can't treat anybody like that. We can never think like that. You start thinking like that is how it gets ahead of you. But it's just, oh God, it gets me so. It's so frustrating that. That's when we have played our worst baseball this season.
Yeah, it's a weird place to be with the schedule that we've had that the Mets are 500 right now. It's a very uneasy feeling, and I can feel with you Mets fans at home who are probably a little more irate than me and James per se with your reactions of what's going on. To be fair, we've had some time to sit on this and think as well and talk through it. I think if you record this after the game, you feel different sometimes, but give yourself an hour or two to think about what's going on and your vibes change. But yeah, like it's just whatever happened in this Tiger series, whether it was the rain, whether it was the cold, whether the fact that it felt like you were playing AAU baseball because there was like 60 people in the stands. Just to talk about the vibes there for a second, The stadium was extremely empty. The camera angles were so weird on SNY. I looked at both SNY and compared it to the Detroit broadcast. I don't know what cameras SNY got, but they were like incredibly zoomed in, where the Detroit ones were more zoomed out. My dad's like, Detroit looks like a bandbox. And I was like, no, it's because the camera was zoomed. And like, even like Gary was like, he was, making some calls here and there. It wasn't necessarily a sharpest. It was an off series for everybody around the Mets, it seemed like. And hopefully we can put this behind us because we cannot continue to play baseball ball like this and be a successful team. And I'm not going to pretend like I'm not, like everything's okay and fine, but I know that this team is not bad. They had a bad series. They played bad. But if you're someone who thinks that this is a bad team because of these 3 games or what you've seen over the last 10, I think that would be a little naive. Like this team is still good. They still have good players.
Yeah, the team is good and they have good players, but they just quite literally have to play well. And this series was in itself weird just from like a logistics standpoint where you had a series that was ending on a Monday. It wound up ending on Monday with a doubleheader. So you wound up leaving much later than you ever intended. You get in there, you get to the ballpark, you get rained out again. Then you have a doubleheader on a Wednesday. Then you leave on a travel day on a Thursday. You immediately come back home. Like, it was just a weird couple of days in Detroit surrounded by two, and then 3 games at home and back on the road next week. Just weird vibes with the whole thing. And I don't know. I'm at a loss right now. Like, again, I wish there was one thing I could point to this team. And it did feel like that for like most of the series. Like, all right, the starting pitching just has to get better. Like, starting pitching's going to get better. Scherzer and Verlander coming back. Like, okay, they're going to steady the ship. We're going to be okay. But now it's like, you just go out there and get 2 hit on a Thursday afternoon. You're just left looking for answers that you really can't find.
Yeah, I mean, let's flip the script here a little bit. We've talked, I think, I don't want to say negatively, but as much as we can about how these games really went in terms of like, you guys know the situation. They played poorly. We don't need to say it 100 times. We're 10, 11 minutes into the episode. I think we should at least talk about Verlander. While he did start off the first inning shaky, there were actual real good signs with Justin Verlander throughout this game that made me excited. Like the fact that his fastball, I think, just from watching, I saw it hit 96 a couple times. Like that to me, I go, awesome. The slider looked like okay at times when he was throwing the curveball, which started off a little bit rough in the first inning. I feel like got better on throughout the game. And of course, he was throwing strikes. Like he didn't really feel like he struggled. He just gave up the 2 home runs back to back.
Yeah, 2 home runs back to back. Tigers didn't really threaten after that first inning. Something interesting Verlander did in this start where he basically threw an even amount of four-seam fastballs and sliders. That's something he hasn't really done before in his career. Even last year it was about 50 a 30, then like 20% curveballs. Only threw 8 curveballs out of 79 pitches. So that could be an adjustment that Verlander's doing. It's also first start, just a couple innings here, so not really anything to glean from that yet. But we'll see that. He looked fine. He did give up a lot of loud contact, but yeah, America held most of it, and it wasn't really like, it was like loud contact, but it was either like on the ground or like a really low sinking liner or just like a hard pop up and high in the air. It wasn't, there were a lot of hard hit balls per se, but I don't think many of them were very fearful after that first inning.
And I mean, Verlander, like throughout his career, has been a fly ball pitcher who is susceptible to the home runs. That's what happens when you throw high in the zone, when you throw hard like Justin Verlander does. By no means is that like surprising when he does give up home runs. Look at his years in the past, and if you look at even some of his years with the Astros, like he has given up hard hits. Like this is not, he's not untouchable by any means in that sense, but he still is a very good pitcher. And I thought that his start outside of the first inning, which was rough as we know, was good. I think if there was a positive to take out of this series, like, oh, Justin Verlander made 2 bad pitches. Relatively speaking, 2 bad pitches. Even the one to Javi Baez was on the black. It was a fastball on the black that he just hit to right field because Javi Baez is a bad ball hitter. But for the most part, it was 2 bad pitches, and the rest of the start was good.
Yeah, and that's, I think, something that has been kind of critical to this Mets team so far. We've talked about it ad nauseum, that we're still yet to have a pitcher get through 6 innings twice on this roster, which is just crazy this thing to say on May 4th for a team that came in with a rotation that had very high hopes. So just hoping that he does wind up steadying this thing a little bit, at least every single 5th day. Him, like we got Max Scherzer, everything's okay. I mean Justin Verlander. Oh man, I was looking up stuff on Max Scherzer in my tab. That's why. I've also just like this home runs of Max Scherzer. It's freaking crazy. Like what's happening here? Like he's already given up 6 home runs this year. Guess how many he gave up last year?
11,
13 whole year.
It was close. It was
really close. Good job. Yeah, but that's scary. Like that's terrifying. That's already that many home runs. Like I literally, and I echo what he said. Like he's like, all right, this was the long layoff. It was weird to even get on the mound this time. I just want to get out there again, and like do it again. And I'm like, I'm really waiting for that next Max Scherzer start. So I want to see him get back to where he is.
Run it back, Max. Let's go. Yeah, get like if he can get back on pace with like the Max Scherzer that we know he can be and saw at times last year, it's unbelievably huge for the Mets. It's so valuable to get that pitcher back. In terms of the bullpen, too, in Game 3, because the bullpen also did hold it down. They didn't give up any runs in the 3 innings in relief. Jeff Brigham, your boy, I mean, you got Brigham stuff, maybe not a minute, but maybe like 15 seconds.
I mean, it just looked good again. He wasn't really getting any swings and misses, but he was getting some called strikes, and he just got the guys out. Like, good. He brought that cutter back against lefty. That was fine.
It was Dominic Leone got into the game. The Clemson Tiger.
Yeah, your boy Dominic Leone.
Yeah.
Yeah. The words coming out around him coming to the team were kind of interesting this morning. The beat writers were like, yeah, Dominic Leone's here. We haven't heard anything, but we haven't heard they signed him, but we see him like in the clubhouse. So I guess he's going to be on the team, which is pretty funny.
And Drew Smith pitched the last inning, 8th inning, got a strikeout, looked good as always because Drew Smith's the man. 2.25 ERA on the year for Drew Smith. So if we got any positives to take out of it, those are them. They're a little bit numbered right now because, again, probably the worst series we've played in a while. But, that's it.
And truthfully, hats off to this Mets bullpen just for the year in general. Like, for as little as the starting rotation has given, like, they have been astoundingly good for what they've had to work with, which is pitching most of the innings in most of the games. A lot of innings on this bullpen's arm already. We know Adam Ottavino had the rough 8th inning in Game 1, but it's going to happen. You can't be perfect all the time. I think I don't really want to talk about the Tigers series anymore, honestly. I think the nice bow I'll put on it is I won the estimate, so yeah.
Yay for me. Would have loved to lose this one because it means that Mets were pitching a little bit better, but I won it, so I think I've now tied up the estimate, which is a perfect time to bring in Johnny's stats here for us so we can go ahead and do the estimate for the upcoming series with the Colorado Rockies, which we will preview for you guys, of course, in a second. I need to grab a piece of paper. I don't have a piece of paper or a pencil around me. I'm extremely unprepared.
I got one local. Yeah, you got to get one.
All right, what's going on, John? What do you got for us?
Hello, guys. I'm very sorry I missed the last episode. I wish I didn't.
Do you know the secret word?
Do I know the secret word? No, I don't get the
John. I guess John really missed the last episode.
No, didn't even listen to the boys. I see how it is, John.
Look, guys. I knew what you were doing there. I've been going through it. Okay. I've been going through it. What can you say? You know, sports are an escape for us, and at the same time, there are some days and some nights where it's the worst thing that's ever happened to me.
Sometimes you want to escape from sports.
Yeah, and like look at art or things like that. And I was definitely feeling that on Monday night at Prudential Center. But like I said before we got going, things can only get better from here. So I guess that's the modus operandi I will operate under moving forward. So Mark, you said you won, and you did, but I wish we could just shave this one. James wouldn't have such a complaint about that. Just forget this entire time happened, but it did. All right, so we got the Rockies coming into town now. Team that gives up a lot of runs, team that scores a lot of runs. Both of those things lead to long games. And did you guys know the Mets are actually averaging the second longest 9-inning game in the major leagues right now?
That makes sense because I feel like every time we're at Citi Field, which has not been much this year because we haven't played many home games, but I'm like, the Mets have not figured out a way to play like one of these patented new 2-hour, 20-minute games.
They did today. It was like 2 hours and 8 minutes.
Yeah, well, that was hell. So maybe we don't want it. I don't know.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with what James mentioned about Mets starting pitchers not getting deep into games, finding their rhythm, having those quick half innings. The more pitching changes you have, the longer games are going. I mean, that's just all it comes down to. So I think it's a product of that. The Mets have had their games where they've scored a lot of runs. They've had their games where they've worked opposing pitchers, drawn a lot of walks. Obviously, that leads to longer games as well.
Can I even tell you, actually, after Thursday's game, the Mets' average time of game has dropped all the way to about 18th.
Wow, really?
Just from today.
Yeah, so they're averaging 2 hours and 38 minutes per game right now.
Huh, that's a big...
Well, I guess the sample isn't big enough right now. The Marlins are number 1 in terms of shortest games, and they had like that 1 hour, 57-minute game earlier this season, and I still think that's weighing them down a little bit, keeping them all the way at the bottom there. But anyway, so here we are. I want to know the average game time. We'll do hours and minutes. If you guys want to go seconds, maybe we do, just in case we have a tie. Probably better, so James doesn't have anything to complain about if there is a tie.
The hell?
It's the Alexis Diaz thing. It'll live on forever. But, yeah, you guys jot that down. And
luckily with that Alexis Diaz thing, the ball did not lie, so that's okay.
The ball did not lie. That is true. for the second straight weekend, this would have been the case last weekend until Mother Nature got involved. 3 games, 3 different start times this weekend at Citi Field. 7:10 on Friday, 4:10 on Saturday, and 1:40 on Sunday. So a different start time for all those who have different preferences.
4:10 start time's electric.
4:10's amazing. Are we doing seconds? Are we doing seconds?
I
think we should do seconds.
Yeah, I threw seconds in there. Unless we come up with the same number, it really doesn't matter, but I like the idea of throwing in seconds. It fits for what I wrote down, and I'm not changing it.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Why do you like 4:10 start times?
Because you can, you're not rushed to get there early. It's like a nice mid-afternoon game, and when you're done, you still have time to, go home, maybe eat a little dinner, and then you can go out with the boys afterwards, and still have a great night.
I think that's a big not married, not engaged, no children on the way, start time to like.
No children on the way.
Single guy living in New York. That's that's a big time of wow, I can get a lot of things done here.
Because you could have your Friday night and feel unencumbered. Because if you know you're getting to the ballpark early on Saturday, your Friday night's going to be managed a little bit based on that. So I can have a Friday night where I'm not thinking about the Saturday game. I can have a leisurely morning, make a nice breakfast, maybe exercise before.
Little omelet, James?
Yeah, a little omelet, some home fries, then get to the ballpark and have your game. You're out of there 6:45 now with the new rules, and get like Mark said, dinner with the boys and go right out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we live different lifestyles. I guess that's what it comes down to. I guess that's what it comes down to. All right, guys, you got your answers here?
Yeah, I got my answer.
All right, you guys ready to show them?
Let's do it.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Bang.
Yes, let's go.
I got 249.20.
I like 242 flat.
Wow. That's pretty good. Interesting that we were within 7 minutes.
Mark, tell the people who are just listening on audio which you wrote that on.
Yeah, I wrote this on some cardboard that I use to sell cards. And this is a piece of cardboard I received when I bought all my Brett Beatty cards that I have, because Brett Beatty's the friggin' man, and he had a great series. He was a beast. But this is the cardboard you pack in there so that you make sure the cards don't get damaged. You got to take care of the people when you're selling them cards, and they take care of you when you're buying. So, yeah, it's a piece of United States Postal Service box because they give them away for free. John, thank you for the estimate. We will we'll see you tomorrow maybe at Citi Field. We'll see you someday at Citi Field, and
I'll be here.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about this Rocky series now, me and James here, because we are seeing the Rockies for the first time this year. Are they interesting? Is that the word I want to describe them as? How would you describe the Rockies?
How would I describe the Rockies?
They are a team.
They're a team. They're a baseball team. I'm not taking anything for granted just because of what's happened over the last week. So the Rockies, I guess do have some things. The biggest thing about the Rockies, and it's been this way just for a generation now, is that they act differently at home versus on the road. They just always have. The Rockies continually run nearly 500 records at home and play a little bit worse on the road. So again, I don't want that to say anything that I think about it. They're coming into the series. They've won 3 games in a row. Their game Thursday right now has not started great, but they could be at worst winning 3 out of 4 games. And I don't know, Chris Bryant is a baseball player. Ryan McMahon's a good baseball player. CJ Cron, Elias Diaz has been adored in the Mets sides forever. We're going to see Antonio Senzatella, who he gets out of the Coors Field. He loosens that arm up, and you thought you've never seen a pitcher like this in your life. I don't know. What can we say? I don't even know what to say about other teams anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Ezequiel Tovar is always my guy to watch. I'm excited to get to watch him up close and personal just because I'm a big fan of his. He's a young prospect shortstop with the Rockies, has been struggling quite a bit this year.
His first home run this week, though.
Yeah, he's 21 years old. We saw him at the Fall League when we went and met Brett Beatty, bringing it back to Brett Beatty as always. But they have some players on their team, like you said. Pitching-wise, that's always going to be the, I don't want to say X factor. That's going to be the wild card. That's the word I'm looking for. Their pitching is always going to be their wild card. They will be able to hit. This team is not bad offensively by any means. They can swing it for sure a little bit. Pitching is the wild card because these guys finally get to use breaking balls as soon as they leave Coors. But at the same time, you have the negative effect of leaving Colorado where you're now at normal altitude. Your body is exhausted after spending all that time at the Mile High City. It's interesting. Like you said, they don't really play well away from home. But honestly, if you're a Mets fan or even the Mets themselves, you should not care. Got to come out and pound this team. You got to destroy them.
No, we gotta go into the series pretending that they're like the 32 Yankees. You gotta act like this is you have to treat this team like they are the greatest team that's ever stepped on a baseball field. Because that's just what's going on right now. And we are gonna miss Kyle Freeland, who has been pitching actually quite well for the Rockies this year.
What? You know who I saw is on this team that I forgot about?
Jurickson Profar.
No, old Mets'd up callback here. A certain man by the name of Brad Foote, a.k.a. Brad Hand, will be back in Citi Field. James, your personal favorite.
Oh, God, we got to hit that guy. If we don't
Gotta
hit
hit
that guy.
Brad.
Oh, my God. There's going to be a Tommy Pham versus Brad Hand at bat this series, and my legacy's going to rely on it.
Literally. That. And then another reliever I do want to mention, Justin Lawrence, is really, really interesting. He throws like submarine sidearm and throws like 99 miles an hour. He's got some crazy stuff.
I want to shout out how short all of the relievers' names in this Rockies bullpen are.
It is. It's very
Like,
short.
Justin Lawrence is the only guy who even has 4 syllables in his name. Pierce Johnson, Brent Souther, Jake Bird, Daniel Bard, Brad Hand, Nick Mears, Peter Lambert. So every single name in that bullpen, we only have 2 that are at least 4 syllables.
Oh my goodness, yeah. And they have how do they have a Bird and a Bard as well? It's very confusing.
A Bird, a Bard, a Hand, a Mears, a Brett, a Jake, a Brad, a Nick.
My goodness. What are our pitching matchups for this series? I know Sunday we said we're not quite sure yet because the Mets, the off days have been weird for them.
Yeah, it does feel like that's going to be Lucchesi because Jose Budo was using relief on Wednesday night. So it just makes, also just for a similar amount of time that Lucchesi was used. So I kind of feel like those two could piggyback again. But Friday night, we're going to have Kodai Senga versus Antonio Senzatella. But for the first time I've ever seen Kodai Senga live, his first time pitching in a while.
Yeah,
So
he's got extended rest.
Yeah, it's like basically a full week off for Kodai Senga, gather himself after this first month in the States. And then Saturday, the 4 o'clock game, the young person's preferred start time, John hates it, Tyler McGill versus Austin Gomber. I'm not going to mention how Austin Gomber's been pitching this year.
No comments.
No comment. And then Sunday, it's probably a mix of Lucchesi and Budo and probably some other bullpenning versus Ryan Feltner.
Okay. Yeah, those are the pitchers for the Rockies. That will be
Those are the pitchers. Those are the pitchers for the Rockies.
Those are the pitchers, and for the Mets to win, they have to score more runs than the Rockies. These are true statements.
That's a key way of winning baseball games, scoring more runs than your opponent.
I'm going to channel probably the last time we had like this weird losing stuff going on when we talked about, how to break some bad luck here. And if you got a gong, I know some of you have gongs back home, but we could really use some gong smashes like tonight or whenever you listen to this. I don't know when it's going to come out, but if you've got a gong, you got a pillow, I don't know if you have a broken mirror, throw it away. Like we need to channel some good luck, some good vibes, some good energy. Because the energy's not feeling great right now, so we got to change that around a little bit. I'm putting a spoon underneath the pillow tonight. That's a lock.
You looking for snow?
I'm looking for snow too. Whatever. Bring the Rockies. Bring some good luck. Whatever it is.
Yeah. If anyone watching on YouTube, I changed my microphone. Now it's like coming at it's coming from above rather than coming from below. Maybe that'll change the luck a little bit. I don't know. I don't even know. I'm gonna try to wear some weird to the ballpark tomorrow because I'm going out after. So just like maybe change up the vibes a little bit there. I don't know. Just the last couple minutes of this episode, we should really just like peel it back and just tell Mets fans, we're still only 32 games into the season. Like, it's still very early. Like, I pulled up right here the last, this is going to be kind of funny, the last 3 winners of the National League in full seasons, because it doesn't count the Mickey Mouse Dodgers because they only won 27% of the World Series. And
they played like as many games as there were now, basically.
Yeah, no, we'll highlight the 60th game mark of the season, highlight the standings, and let people know, like, oh, this is how fake that Dodgers World Series really was. But just, again, the last 3 National League winners, real National League winners, all hilariously came out of National League East, which, really helped twist the knife in this conversation a little bit more. But last year on May 4th, Philadelphia Phillies, 11-14. 2021 on May 4th, the Atlanta Braves, 13-16. 2019 on May 4th, Washington Nationals, 14-18.
Yeah.
Those are the last 3 teams to win the National League. Like, this is really bad right now. The Mets look not that good. And we're still 500. And the last 3 teams who won the National League on this date, the last 3 times, were below 500.
I will say I'm keeping a lot of receipts, though, on Twitter right now. Oh, there's so many people talking smack, especially Braves fans in particular, and they have every right to right now, without a doubt. They're up a bunch in the division. They're looking great. But boy, oh boy, come September, October, the Mets make a run. Woo! We're going to be having some fun over here on the podcast, that's for sure.
We definitely will. And I still can't wrap my mind around the fact that everyone is like harping on the offense as the issue.
Yeah.
People love blaming this offense. This team is like 11th in all of baseball in runs scored.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how much. Yeah.
It's when the pitching isn't there, the offense steps up, and sometimes it doesn't match up evenly. But overall, just have to play better. Just simply have to play better, and especially play better than the team that you're going up against in those games, because that did not happen against the Tigers. Take care of business against the Rockies this weekend. I think we're getting good weather, too, right? I think we're getting some sun finally in like 70s.
Supposedly. This is what we talked about 30 minutes into the Messed Up podcast when the baseball's not good. How's the weather?
How's the weather? Maybe April showers bring May flowers. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been May. It's been raining still, so whatever.
That entire series is May. I don't know. We're done, guys. Thank you so much for listening and watching. We just dropped the Matt Frivola interview as well, so go check it out on YouTube, or if you haven't heard it on the audio side of it, make sure you go listen to that. Follow us on all our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. New York Mets YouTube channel for the video version of this, and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, wherever you get your podcasts. Drop us a rating, review, download, and subscribe. What'd you have? One second for me here, James.
Yeah, shout out Matt Frivola, fighting UFC 288 this Saturday night at Prudential Center. Everyone check out our boy Matt, friend of the podcast, friend of the Mets family. Like, he's going to just knock Drew Dober out. We're going to have a great time.
That'd be awesome. Hopefully we see Matt Frivola win, and hopefully we see some Mets wins this weekend. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you after the Rockies series for hopefully way better vibes. Peace out.
Peace out, guys. See you next time.